Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are MC.
Royals baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. And on a gorgeous Southern California afternoon, the Royals go for a 3-game sweep today over the Angels. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the ballpark with Rex Hudler. I'm Ryan Lefevre. Joe Goldberg will also be joining us. Royals are scoring runs. They're playing defense. They're hitting home runs. And as they go for the sweep today, they've got Yordano Ventura on the mound.
Ooh, that all spells trouble for the Halos. The Royals are about ready to hand the Halos a sweep like they did last time they came here in October. If Ventura can continue to pitch to defense and pitch to contact like he does, that defense, as great as they are, they're going to help him save pitches and keep that pitch count low. He's got the skills. Fastball, curveball, change, that's the total package. Get a couple of runs from that highly potent offense, they'll be in trouble.
And that highly potent offense has already scored 31 runs in the first 5 games. The first pitch from Anaheim is coming up next. High-speed internet. The U-verse revolves around you. Call 1-800-PIC-ATT. And by the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket you play gives back to schools across Missouri. Ryan Lefevre, Rex Hudler up in the booth, and down in the field, right outside the Royals dugout, is Joel Goldberg.
Ryan, thanks. And, right by the on-deck circle. So Alcides Escobar is starting to swing. Same for Mike Moustakas. They've been a big part of this offense. When you look at the American League, they've got guys that are in the top 10 in so many categories. And 1 through 9, it seems like there's a different hero every single night. So many weapons with this offense.
It's not just one guy. There's guys stepping up in each different situation. So I think that's the way that it should be, and I guess I think we're doing a very good job at that.
And Alex Rios and the Royals ready to get going. And those heroes, 1 through 9, they could be offensively, it could be defensively. They are getting contributions throughout the lineup, and that is what has made them so dangerous early on here in the season. And looking at that group right now, as always, a very loose bunch of Kansas City Royals.
Okay, Joel, and speaking of the lineup, State Farm shows us the Royals batting order for today. And for a moment, I thought Joel was in the lineup as close as he was to the on-deck circle. But no. The change for the second time in a week, day game after a night game. Paulo Orlando in left field. He made his big league debut on Thursday. He'll play in left field again today as the Royals want to give Alex Gordon time in his wrist time to recuperate in day games after night games.
Boy, doesn't C.J. Wilson wish that Joel Goldberg was in that lineup? That would be an easy out for him, but there's none in there. Even Infante hit just 158, has a career .463 average against Wilson. So it'll be interesting to see if C.J. Wilson can shut down that highly potent Royals offense.
It was mostly a down year for C.J. Wilson a year ago, but his first start against Seattle was a very good one. 8 innings, giving up just 2 hits, no runs, and 1 walk. That's a key number that we'll watch today, as Wilson last year led the American League with 85 walks. The Royals have a great defense. The Angels have a very good defense. Last year they had the second fewest errors in the American League. Johnny Giavitello, the former Royal, is out today, and Taylor Featherston will be making his major league debut.
I got to talk to that young man before the game, and he was like a deer in headlights. He was excited, typically like any young person would, getting ready to get their major league debut. But nice player, has some speed, a little bit of pop. We'll see.
This has all been a big surprise for him. He was a Rule 5 pick. He hasn't played above Double-A. Taken by the Cubs in the Rule 5 draft and then traded to the Angels. Well, the last time the Royals were going for a sweep was Thursday against a team or a pitcher they'd never beaten, John Danks. Now they go for a sweep today. They have never beaten C.J. Wilson, and a mixture of Royals who have struggled and Royals who have really done well against C.J. Wilson.
Yep, it's going to be interesting to see who's going to drive the bus for the Royals, because you can almost flip a coin. Talked to manager Mike Scioscia about the Royals. I said, Mike, what's different about the Royals last year compared to this year? He said, well, they do a lot of things right, Hud, no doubt about that, but they're a deeper offensive lineup with more power, makes them even more dangerous than they were last year.
Royals hit 2 more home runs last night in the 6-4 win. That gives them 8 on the year, second in the league. It took the Royals 20 games last year to hit 8 home runs. Now Alcides Escobar is one of 5 Royals who has hit safely in each of the first 5 games. And he's ready to swing on the first pitch, 0-1.
Yep. What they're going to see out of Wilson is a fastball that he'll sink and cut. 90 to 93 miles an hour. Nice slider, slow curve, and a changeup, and he's been bringing in those secondary pitches more. He's not a good fielding pitcher, C.J. Wilson. Royals get on, they can be running on him. However, he's done a better job this season. He's mixing in the slide step. He's throwing over to first base a little more when runners get on. But I'll tell you one thing that their pitching coach, Mike Butcher, told me this morning. Our starters cannot let the base runners get in the head of our starters. First 2 games of the series, when the Royals got on the base, it would take the focus away from the pitcher because of the Royals running game. The running Royals are in the mind of not only the Angels, but the rest of the league. And sometimes for a starting pitcher, that can be distracting, and you leave pitches to hit out over the plate.
2-2 on Escobar. Into center field. Trout first went back and now comes up to make the catch.
The reason that Trout stepped back because he realizes in the day game here in Anaheim the ball carries 20 feet further than at nighttime because of that marine layer that sits over. And with the flags blowing here at the Big A out to left field, you'll see more outfielders take step back than coming in.
Mike Moustakas with one out. And in the game last night, he had the Royals' first hit. And a big hit, a long home run to right center field in the 4th inning.
Just an easy swing. Wow, imagine what you can do with an easy swing when you're not trying to hit a homer, especially with his strength. And where that home run landed, Ryan, that's where Mo Vaughn used to hit home runs when he was with the Angels early in the 2000s. When Mo first got here, I told Moose that before the game, and he goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah. That's a long way to hit it here."
He really showed last night, Moustakas did, about how much more of a complete hitter he can be with that long home run to right center. And then later in the game with 2 strikes on a tough pitch down and away, just flicked it into left field for a single.
That's going to be a big difference for him. It's going to help him with his average, and it's going to keep him in that number 2 slot in Ned's order.
And Wilson had him to go up and out of the strike zone, 2 down.
Center fielder, number 6, Lorenzo King.
This fooled Moose. Moose, whenever a pitcher sees that ball coming, you're looking fastball, but it's way in. You're committed already. Good spot by Wilson.
Lorenzo Cain has 3 hits and 2 walks in this series. Been on base 5 times. He's driven in a couple. He has scored a couple. This is one of the tougher matchups for Wilson today. Not a big sample size, but Lorenzo has 4 hits and 7 at-bats against the Angels lefty. And now he has 5 hits and 8 at-bats.
That's what Lorenzo will do in that number 3 spot. Not your prototypical type power guy that's gonna worry about home runs in that 3 spot, but the ability to adjust and shorten up and just get on base, that's what he brings.
And now Lorenzo has hit safely in each of the Royals' 6 games. Inside to Eric Hosmer. He has hit in the first 5. Alcides Escobar, Lorenzo Cain, Eric Hosmer, Kendrys Morales, Salvador Perez. All had at least 1 hit in the first 5 games, and now Cain has hit in 6 straight. Staying inside, 2-0 to Hosmer.
6 different Royals have stolen at least 1 base so far already this year. Only one other team in the majors that can boast that. That's the Cincinnati Reds.
Hosmer sees a 3rd straight pitch inside. He cracked his bat. 2 balls, 1 strike.
There's a lot of things that are different in today's modern game right now, but I'll tell you one of them is when a player breaks a bat. Nowadays they have 2 or 3 bats sitting right up there ready to go in case a guy breaks a bat. You saw Hosmer, he pointed to the dugout letting them know he needed another bat. They bring it right out. That helps speed the game up. We used to have to go back in there ourselves, find our own bat, and then come back out.
That's kind of a walking uphill both ways in the snow complaint, isn't it?
I'm just talking about.
I mean, you had to go all the way to the dugout and get a bat.
Major League Baseball wants to speed up the game, and that's one of the things that they've done. Great idea. And it keeps the player from getting dragged, walking all the way to the dugout by the crowd.
And maybe by his own teammates. He's just going to stay inside on Hosmer. 2-2. Eric hasn't been able to get one in fair territory. Does he stay in there, or does he have him set up to go away now?
They like to go away, or he might try to go up and away with a fastball. Wilson, 70% fastballs in his last start.
Looks like they're going to go breaking ball here. Iannetta sets up away, and it is down and away. 3-2. The Angels have really wanted C.J. Wilson to pitch more to contact. The pitch count has bedeviled him more than anything else. And a lot of this, 3-ball, 2-strike counts. And in his first start against Seattle, he was able to go very deep into the game by getting contact. Pujols was not holding Kane, and Pujols is staring over at Wilson almost to suggest he didn't see that coming.
No, and he's lucky he didn't bounce it. That would have moved Kane possibly all the way to third base, although there's not a lot of foul ground here. Wilson has thrown over to first base.
Kane takes off, and Hosmer strikes out. 2 strikeouts for Wilson. The Royals get their first hit. And now the Angels will be seeing Yordano Ventura when they come up in the bottom of the first inning. And now try to avoid being swept by the Royals. They and the Royals will be hitting the road after today's game. And Mike Scioscia has made a few changes. Eric Ibar will lead off. Cole Calhoun has a tweaked calf muscle. Calhoun homered against Guthrie in the first inning last night. Matt Joyce is in there at left field. And we mentioned the rookie Taylor Featherston at second base making his big league debut. All to see Yordano Ventura, who gave up just 1 run in 6 innings against the White Sox on Monday.
They all know what they're going to expect from Ventura. Above average fastball, 97 average on the velocity, will hit 100. Beautiful overhand curve, exceptional command of the changeup, and he's incorporated a cut fastball more this season. And we're going to see a lot of foul balls, too, with Ventura, if he's up in the strike zone just like that. Ibar, nice leadoff hitter. You can put him anywhere in the order.
He has been very good against the Royals in his career. His .342 average is the best for him against any American League team. And he hasn't been a slap hitter. He has his best slugging percentage against the Royals compared to any other American League team.
He takes a rip. That was a nice cutter at 91. If he can fluctuate his velocity from 90 to 100, to just use that pitch, that's all he really needs.
Still 1-2.
Thing that hitters have told me facing Ventura, they say that it's really hard to pick up the ball out of his hand because he has such a fluid delivery. It looks effortless. So then all of a sudden when he lets go of it, it explodes on you. It's there before you can really pick it up.
Right by him at 95 to begin his outing with a strikeout. And now the Royals defensively presented by Ford, the errorless Kansas City Royals.
Yep, gotta love it. Pitching and defense, that's the winning formula, no question. It's the Royals' way, and they are putting on a clinic. Airtight is a good way to describe that defense. Save runs, make plays.
Only the Marlins are also errorless in major leagues. One and one on Mike Trout. He is 4 for 7 with an RBI in the series. He has hit safely in each of the first 5 Angels games. One and two. Now, it's not surprising that he took the first pitch from Ventura. It's his first at-bat of the day. But Trout led the league in strikeouts last year, which is a bit surprising for a most valuable player. And one of the things that he said he wanted to do more this year was, as he put it, be locked and loaded for the first pitch of the at-bat and not just give away a strike, which he often does. Which just shows you how good he is. He wins the MVP, and a lot of the time he starts his at-bats 0-1.
I don't think there's any concern from Mike Scioscia about Trout.
Just missed. 3-2. Albert Pujols is on deck.
Be surprised on this 3-2 pitch coming if he throws anything but a fastball, because he has the power to get it by him. Early in the game, typically he'll challenge guys.
Fastball away, strikes him out. That one in 98.
It's a tremendous weapon. That four-seam fastball, it is on you before you can even see it.
Hitters want to get on that fastball as hard as Ventura throws it to stay away from that curve. 186 is the best that the league can do a bit against Ventura's curveball. Albert Pujols is 0 for 8. Orlando in left field. Albert Pujols gets his first hit of the series just over the wall in left field to give the Angels a 1-0 lead. Pujols has never gone hitless in a 3-game series against the Royals, and he was going to make sure that he wasn't going to make this weekend series be the first one.
The pitch was down and in the nitro zone. So if there's any question, the ability of Pujols, if he's aging and not being able to get around on an upper 90s fastball, well, there's your answer right there.
Matt Joyce out into shallow right field where Infante throws him out. The Angels, as they did yesterday, get a home run in the first inning for a 1-0 lead. Academy Sports and Outdoors gives us our leaderboard for today. Some of the Royals already among the league rankings, and Kendrys Morales 6th with a .400 batting average and 6th on base plus slugging. All of those 4 Royals hit safely in each of the first 5 games.
Wilson using a lot of fastballs, first 4 hitters.
And now Morales has a 6-game hitting streak as he's on to begin the second inning.
Right fielder, number 15, Alex Rios.
Wilson again. Tries to sink his fastball. He'll cut it in on right-handers. Slider, slow curve, and change. And haven't seen much of the slow curves yet, but staying firm early. Now, once the Royals start doing that right there and start jumping on his fastball, that's typically when a starter will start showing you his arsenal. Okay, you're going to hit that next time around. I'll show you something else. That's the advantage of a starter that needs 4 pitches, because you face these guys at least 3 times through. You got to show them something besides 2 pitches.
Rios goes the other way.
You know, we've seen a different Royals team this year for the better because they're more experienced. And we talk about the swagger, but the difference is is they're like, whenever the opponent jumps out in front on them, they're like, really? Okay. Got you right where we want you. We'll get our machine going. And that's the swagger. That's that mentality that these guys are bringing now to go along with their talent. And the fact that Mike Scioscia said they're deeper, they're stronger, they're more powerful. Those are good words coming from the opposing manager.
Salvador Perez homered to cap that 5-run fourth inning against Jared Weaver last night. And that's into center field. And the Royals do answer the Angels. Come right back in the next half inning. 3 straight singles. Perez has hit in 6 straight as he drives in Morales.
Left fielder, number 16, Orlando.
Salvador, a nice approach there. Don't want to roll that top hand over. He stayed inside and got a pitch up. He went right up the middle. Kept the inside hand guided towards the mound. That's what kept him away from rolling that over to the shortstop Ibar. Morales, again, I'll tell you fans, he runs well. He's a good athlete. He's not slow-footed. It's not going to take 2 hits to score Morales from second base.
7 RBIs for Perez, leads the Royals. And here's Paulo Orlando playing in his second major league game. Made his big league debut after 10 years in the minor leagues. Got his first big league hit, a triple, also reached with a walk. Showing bunt and taking a strike.
Well, it's not that he's testing Freese, the third baseman, because we all know. We saw that great play that Freese made on Escobar in the first game of the series. Came in, barehanded, dead run, threw Escobar out by 2 steps. He can field. He's a good third baseman.
That is foul, and it's 0-2.
All right. Talk about team speed. This young man has added a nice dimension to that. We timed him. That's right. First big league knock, he split the gap at the K. And was it fun? Look at him go. Track meet breaking out for this young star. That's exactly what he used to do. Look at the fire. Look at the rest of the boys. They loved it. Welcome to the big leagues. Follow.
Angels will only get 1 with Orlando's speed. Perez is cut down at second base. And Rios goes to third.
Very nice at bat. Trying to hit that ball over there on purpose. Hit Rios to third base for Infante, who's got some nice numbers against Wilson. Watch this. He's already, that ball was inside on his hands, but his approach was real nice. Managers like to see young players that have an idea how to play the game. When you've got over 1,000 minor league games in you, believe me, he knows how to play the game. Orlando.
Cut fastball for a strike to Infante. 2 out of 8 in this series. Pass freeze. The Royals will take the lead. Rios scores. It's 2-1 KC in the second inning.
The ball stayed down on Freese. Freese started to come up, and the ball stayed down under his glove, and the ball struck well by Infante. And it should be an error, however. We'll see what the official scorer does. It is. It's ruled an error. He wanted to try to keep his glove down on the dirt and then adjust if the ball hops up, but if it doesn't, Still goes in his glove, and he pulled up just a hair.
Remember, you can enjoy one-of-a-kind experiences at Kauffman Stadium with our Royals Memories program. A variety of on-the-field opportunities are available for purchase each game, exclusively through the MLB.com ballpark app. You can play catch in the outfield, take a photo on the field, present the game ball. Many exciting experiences are available. Just download the At the Ballpark app. Escobar bats for the second time in 2 innings. He's had a tough time against C.J. Wilson. 1 out of 13. He flied to center field in the first inning.
Well, Escobar will be tough to double up, and we know that. And to try to do what the rest of the guys have been doing against Wilson. Just staying short to the ball, looking to find any little holes out there that you can find. Keep the train rolling.
Good pitch. Escobar swings right over it. 0-2.
Now, if there is an attempt by the Royals for a double steal, Iannetta will probably choose Infante, the trail runner, to try to throw out. As Paulo is pretty quick, but we'll see if the Royals press the pedal to the metal here.
They do not, and it's high and away.
But if in case both of them do run, Infante with Pujols way off the bag has no excuse to get thrown out. He can get a 10, 15, 20-foot lead.
Two and 2. Royals are tied for the league lead with 7 stolen bases. Do you know who they are tied with?
I hadn't found that out yet.
The Tigers.
Wow.
Really changed their approach the last 2 years under Brad Ausmus. Hit well into left field. That ball is off the top of the wall. Alcides Escobar is into second base, driving in 2. Orlando and Infante. It is a 4-run second inning.
Gotta love Infante. He read that. He knew the left fielder wasn't going to catch it, so he was right up on the bumper of Orlando. On contact, it was nice. Well struck, short, compact stroke. That's what the Royals have been doing. They're shortening up their swings, trying to make contact. And look at Joyce. Almost went out. And Escobar says, I'm driving the Royal bus today.
Ball 1 to Mike Moustakas. So of the 5 Royals hitters who came into today, having hit safely in each of the first 5 games, 4 of those now have hit safely in 6 games. Iannetta makes the play in front of the screen. 2 down. Mike Moustakas is 0 for 2. Now, I'd mentioned in the first inning that the Royals have never beaten C.J. Wilson. I'm only talking about the regular season. But remember in the postseason, when the Angels were hanging on to their playoff lives, the Royals won the first 2 games here. We went back to Kansas City. The Royals swept the series, and in doing so, remember, they knocked C.J. Wilson out in the very first inning. They only went 2/3 of an inning in Game 3. They're going to walk Lorenzo Cain.
Well, that man has a really good idea about pitching. He was a great catcher in his day, a world champion catcher for the Dodgers. And he did not trust C.J. Wilson at the K. He went out and yanked him after 2 runs were scored right away, knowing his team's back was against the wall. Socha said, I'm not letting them mop you up here.
Kane is on. Mike Trout had homered in the top of the first inning of that game, so the Angels had a lead. Our AT&T U-verse rewind takes us to the bottom of that first inning, and here's Alex Gordon, and he just missed a home run. Alex driving in a couple, including Billy Butler, scoring all the way from first base. And not long after that, C.J. Wilson was taking a shower.
I just got goosebumps watching that because we were in the crowd. You were in the radio booth. I was sitting with the people, and the roar was deafening. That was exciting.
Wilson really pitched Hosmer inside 4 consecutive pitches down and into Hosmer, and then he's fouled another one to make it 0-1. Staying inside and almost hit him. This is just game 6 of the season, and it's already the 3rd time the Royals have batted around in an inning. Staying inside again, 2-1.
C.J. Wilson taking a long time in between pitches. Royals batters, as they're batted around, put a little bit of indecision and some indigestion, I'm sure. C.J. Wilson.
Last 2 1/3 innings against the Royals, C.J. Wilson, this includes the playoffs, has given him 7 runs. Hosmer has Escobar at second, Kane at first. And Wilson strikes him out for a second time. Royals bat 9. Perez drove in the first run after Morales led off with a single. Infante with an RBI, and Escobar caps it with a 2-run double. Thoroughbred Ford. For great deals on new Ford cars and trucks, visit thoroughbredford.com. Quite a few Royals fans here. You scan especially the first base and right field side. A lot of royal blue and powder blue. David Freese takes high, ball one. The Angels got a run in the bottom of the first on the Albert Pujols home run, and the Royals came back and scored 4 in the second inning. Escobar throws out Freese, 1 down. Yordano Ventura will get C.J. Cron, who was 0 for 10 to begin the season. To C.J. Cron, former Angels first-round draft pick. His father Chris played very briefly in the big leagues. Actually played for the Angels. How about this for bragging rights in the Cron household? CJ got 3 hits in his big league debut, and right away had more major league hits than his dad.
Oh.
1 game. There's that nasty breaking ball. Home plate umpire Jim Wolf said that Perez did not tag out Cron, but Cron felt something and he stopped. So Sal didn't have to make the throw, and that is Ventura's 3rd strikeout.
There he is, bringing out the hammer curve, which is, hitters will tell you that's unfair, especially when that thing breaks from your shoulders to the ground. I mean, he's got such good depth to that curveball, and after that 98, 99 mile an hour fastball, it's just unfair, especially if he's looking for the heater.
Ball 1 to Chris Iannetta. One. As high as 99 for Ventura and as soft as 79. You know, when you talk about Ventura in the postseason last year, we all remember Game 6 of the World Series. But the Angels remember Game 2 of the Division Series, and Ventura gave up just 1 run in 7 innings.
He gained so much maturity just in October.
After getting knocked around in that wild card game as a reliever against the A's, Ventura gave up 1 run in 7 innings. In the division series, he gave up 4 runs in 5 2/3 in the championship series against Baltimore, but then against San Francisco in the World Series, 2 runs in 12 1/3 innings. Strike 3 called, 97 miles an hour. And Yordano Ventura, in just 2 innings, has 4 strikeouts.
Iannetta, you got to go.
In Anaheim, two of the newest Royals will lead things off, Kendrys Morales and then Alex Rios. And for Rios, every hitter is different the way they prepare. I asked him about C.J. Wilson, and he said, I don't really remember very much. He's got great numbers against him, but he said, I don't look at numbers. I don't like to look at video. Give me a scouting report the day of, and I will work based on that. Everyone processes differently. And I said, do you want to know whether you've been good against Wilson or not? He said, nope, I'll look at numbers at the end of the year. So a little bit of the mindset of Alex Rios.
One strike to Kendrys Morales, and that's the second time that Ionetta's had difficulty with a C.J. Wilson pitch. Did you watch video, Hud? Well, back when you played, it was just drawings.
Now don't go that far back. Right. Okay, Rhino, but look, yeah, all I wanted to do was see, especially if it's a guy I hadn't seen before, I want to see the arc on his breaking ball, and I want to see what kind of pickoff move he had.
So this angle right here, this is what you wanted to see
when
you watch video?
That's it. I just want to see a few pitches. Because what I learned was it's easy for paralysis by analysis to set in on a guy that overstudies. Instead of using your natural God-given reactions up there at the plate, see the ball and hit it, keep it simple. I love Rios' approach. That was a nice report Goldie Gibbs.
Well, we knew he'd be fired up for this series. The former Angel, who was traded to the Mariners a couple of years ago, and he is 6 for 10. Singled and scored, leading off the 4-run second inning. And now he may reach on a strikeout wild pitch, and he will. Ionetta, that's the third time in that pitch sequence that he just did not. Talk about a hitter picking up the ball out of the pitcher's hand. Ionetta had difficulty picking up the ball out of the pitcher's hand.
Well, it's that one that went between the wickets. He thought it was going to come up, and it didn't. It stayed down. It hit the bottom part of the dish, and Morales was heads up enough to get a good break, get out of there, get on base, keep the pressure on Wilson with nobody out.
Rios had a nice swing when he singled in the second inning. Nice easy stroke, and singling to right. Morales, Rios, Orlando, and Infante scoring in the 4-run second inning. And now he pulls it to short. Out at second. And double play. Nice turn by the rookie Featherston, making his big league debut. 2 down.
Yep. Routine play. Ibar, he wears the gold. He's a good, solid shortstop. There's the first turn in the big leagues by the young guy, Featherston. And I like that. Comes right over the top with his throwing stroke. Gets that ball to first base quickly.
Wilson thought that perhaps Perez had swung as he hit the deck. No. Even if his arms had crossed the plane, there has to be the intent to strike the ball, and Sal was not trying to hit. He just lost his balance. Wilson comes back, has a quick inning, facing only 3 after giving up 4 in the second inning.
Cleveland. It has been a disastrous series for the Indians. Meanwhile, Miguel Cabrera today, 4 for 4 with 2 home runs. He's 11 for 14 on the series, and this one just went final. The Tigers are undefeated. Royals will try to keep pace with them. Time for the University of Kansas Hospital injury update. We knew about Verlander going on the DL for the first time in his career, but some really bad news for the Cleveland Indians. Yan Gomes, who hurt his knee yesterday, will miss 6 to 8 weeks with an MCL sprain in his right knee. Guys, he was handed his Silver Slugger Award before the game today, came out on crutches. That's, in my opinion, the second best catcher in the American League Central.
Royals 5-0, Tigers 6-0. Royals will be heading to Minnesota after today's game to play 3 games over the next 4 days. And to Joel's point, the Indians feel the same way about Yan Gomes. They signed him to a long-term contract, just like the Royals did Salvador Perez. This is Colin Cowgill. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That's unfortunate. No one wishes those things to happen to anybody.
A little slower breaking ball. 1-2. Cowgill, Featherston, and Ibar in the bottom of the 3rd. That is 5 strikeouts against 8 hitters for Yordano Ventura.
Second baseman, number 8, Taylor Featherston.
That was filthy. That is just a beautifully thrown pitch by a young man at only the age of 23. That last year, when Nolan Ryan saw him pitch, he said, Rex, he's the real deal.
Just like that.
How'd you like to make your major league debut facing Yordano Ventura?
2 balls, no strikes. Featherston is out of the Rockies organization. He is from TCU, where he played in the 2010 College World Series. Taken in the Rule 5 by the Cubs and then traded to the Angels. That's usually a pre-arranged deal where the Angels recognize that they want Featherston, and the Cubs, who pick earlier, they say, hey, do us a favor, pick this guy and then we'll trade you whomever. 3-1. Second base was wide open. Josh Rutledge, Taylor Featherston, Johnny Giavotella, who won the job, all trying to fill the spot left behind by Howie Kendrick. Out to Escobar. 2 down in the 3rd. Well, don't miss your chance to sit beside your favorite canine while catching the Royals. Our first Bark in the Park event is coming up Tuesday, April 21st, with Minnesota in town. And for $35, you get a ticket for both you and your dog, a Slugger chew toy, and a $5 donation is made to Wayside Waifs Animal Shelter. And you must register beforehand. And you can do so at royals.com/special events. Ventura has retired 8 of 9. With 2 down in the first inning, Pujols homered to give the Angels a very brief 1-0 lead. The Royals got 4 in the second. Ventura retired the next 6. And now he's retired the next 7. As Ibar is 0 for 2. On to the 4th. The Royals lead 4-1. and a 6-0 start. Don't forget to come out and cheer on All-Star and Gold Glove winner Alex Gordon on Thursdays in his fan section, Gordo Nation. For only $30, you get a limited edition Charlie Hustle brand t-shirt along with a one-of-a-kind experience, an exciting atmosphere with a seat near Alex in left field. The next one is Thursday, April 30th. Royals.com/special events. Second time that Alex is out of the lineup in a day game after a night game. And his replacement, Paulo Orlando, takes a strike. At this point in Alex's recovery from right wrist surgery, the Royals feel like he needs several hours to get that wrist ready for a game. He will wake up in the morning after playing a night game and the wrist is stiff, but over the course of the next several hours it loosens up enough for him to play in a night game, but he'd really be pushing it for a day game. Joyce comes up to make the play on Orlando, who hit it hard to left field. One down in the fourth.
Second baseman, number 14, Omar Infante.
Well, you just got to love how Ned Yost has treated his veteran leader, Alex Gordon. He says, you know, there's no hurry. Alex, he's going to be fine. We got plenty of depth. But look at Alex going to work yesterday. Typical Gold Glove performance. Loves to get his uniform dirty. But with Ned not having too many decisions to make this spring because a championship caliber team that's ready to rock, there are no positions open. But the fact that they waited and studied, figured out what they wanted to do, whether carry an extra reliever or an extra outfielder. And Paulo Orlando, the immersion of him having such a successful AAA season last year, hitting 300, he was ready to go. So they made the decision. We can have him and we can rest Alex early. And with Paulo Orlando's speed, it fits right into the running Royals game. Speed kills, causes mistakes, pressures defenses, and wins games.
Last time up, Infante got one by Freese for an error. This time Freese makes a nice play on a tough hop. 2 outs.
Shortstop, number 2, Alcides Escobar.
See how he gathers himself, taps his glove for balance to get his feet underneath him. Good strong throw over the top.
Strike 2, Alcides Escobar. Generous call by home plate umpire Jim Wolf. Escobar opened the game with a fly out to center field and then hit a 2-run double in the Royals' 4-run second inning. Escobar now, if you go back to September, since batting in the leadoff spot, has now hit safely in 28 of his last 30 games. That was a great move for both him and the Royals. Was a foul tip. 1-2.
Batting leadoff is a mentality. It is special. Guys love it, especially when you're Escobar early in his career, hitting in the 8th and 9th spot. No, you get to come up in the first inning. I love that.
You know what, though? There's a lot of guys who don't like to bat leadoff because they don't want to be the first guy up in the game. They don't mind leading off an inning, but for some reason, some guys don't want to be the first guy in the box to start the game.
That's what I'm saying. It's a mindset. It's a mentality. You either like it or you don't, but Escobar, he couldn't wait to get up there and hit. Batter's box is unblemished. You're stepping in where no one has stepped in. It is really cool to lead off a game, especially on the road. You're the first guy in the box the whole game. You can set where you want. It's your game, you tell yourself. And it is for Escobar to get on base for the highly potent offense behind him. Whether he's swinging or taking pitches, just get on base.
Out to Ibar. Royals 3 up, 3 down. 4-1 Royals. Yordano Ventura has allowed 1 hit in 3 innings. And we'll talk about Ventura as Jeff Montgomery joins us when we come back. Royals baseball is brought to you by Panera Bread. Avoid the lines. Order online with rapid pickup at delivery.panerabread.com. By Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by your Midwest Ford dealers. Visit your MidwestFordDealers.com. Is that the Queen Mary?
It is.
Long Beach Harbor?
You are correct.
All right. Here's the Queen Monty. So you can't teach that kind of stuff.
Oh,
you're either born with that kind of segue or you're not.
You don't have to take that from him.
I think
No, that was meant as a compliment.
I appreciate
As
that.
a compliment. King Monty, I should say. How are you, Monty?
Doing great. The Royals playing great baseball. How can you not be feeling great?
I want to talk about Yordano Ventura. Hud and I discussed this quite a bit in his first start against the White Sox. He has made a little mechanical tweak where really, if you break him down, he's essentially pitching out of the stretch every single pitch.
Well, and I think if you look at the mechanics of pitching a baseball, everyone really kind of does that if they do their mechanics properly, because a balance point is a real key in pitching. And if you don't get to a balance point, it's very difficult in order to stay back and get your entire body, especially your lower body, behind your pitches.
Now right here would be considered pitching out of the windup, but watch his first 2 movements. Right there, it's just like pitching out of the stretch.
Yeah,
and
we've
he
got
walks Mike Trout.
We've got a nice little split screen of Yordano Ventura where we're going to take a look at it. On the left-hand side, we're going to take a look at Yordano Ventura from the windup. You see he takes it and he almost gets to the point where he's set just like he is on the right-hand side when he's from the stretch, and it's almost identical. So he's really getting to that really nice balance point, and it's very consistent. I pitched 100% out of the stretch during my career, and that is exactly the reason. You just want a consistent delivery.
Keeps you away from all the moving parts.
The less moving parts, the easier it is to control.
Now, I will give you the information you translated for the audience. I asked Dave Island about that a couple of days ago, and Dave Island said the reason that they went to that is because of Ventura's his plant leg, his right foot, his right leg that's on the rubber. He was rocking too far back, and they wanted that leg. They want to find a way for that back leg to be straight up. Why?
You want to stay above your backside. In other words, you want to be above the rubber with your right side. And in order to do that, you have to have north-south movement. You can't be going east to west. And a lot of times guys will be going side to side, and it takes away from your momentum going home. So if you put yourself in a position to be above the rubber longer, I always use the old one-leg flamingo, where you're standing above that rubber as long as you can on your backside, your right leg for Yordan Ventura, and then it allows you to momentum toward home plate.
Pujols homered his first time up. Kane really fighting the sun, and he's able to find the ball. Did he catch it? He did catch it. The third base umpire, Doug Eddings, signaling that the ball was in Kane's glove. He had possession of it, and the ball dropped when he was transferring to his throwing hand. But you could tell before the ball landed in his glove, he was really having a lot of trouble with the sun.
No question, the sun is really dangerous here at the Big A. As you can see, the shadow is directly underneath the player. That means that it is all in your eyes on a routine fly ball. Now, he didn't have any problem gloving it. Once you make the catch and it's in your glove, that's considered a catch. Now, that's a transfer from glove to hand, and this year there's no replays on that. That's a clean catch. They figured it out. Now, had Infante quickly and alertly snapped that throw over to first base to Hosmer, they would have had a double play on that.
That's a hard play for Mike Trout, the base runner, because he has to figure out which umpire is making the catch or no catch call. So he's kind of in no man's land. Do I keep running? Did he drop it, or do I have to go back?
You're exactly right. He's got to be really heads up. Now, see, he starts to go there thinking that the ball was dropped, and then once he realized that the catch was made, see the first base umpire, he signaled safe. Hosmer's foot wasn't even on the bag when he caught the ball from Infante. They could have snuck a double play there.
0-2 on Matt Joyce. The out recorded by Kane is the first fly ball out for the Angels. Everything else has been either on the ground or a strikeout. Ventura's already struck out 5 and now make it 6. Six strikeouts, 3 2/3 innings.
Brian, a good sign that Yordan Ventura has his off-speed pitches working really nicely today is the fact that he's getting his strikeouts, but 2, like you mentioned, only 1 fly ball out on the day.
David Freese for the runner at first, 2 down. If we get a foul ball here, or maybe even next half inning, and talking about Ventura's mechanics and how even out of the windup he seems to be pitching out of the stretch. You had a great story that you told me the other day about being in Double-A and seeing how effective you can still be out of the stretch. Why don't you go ahead and tell it now?
Yeah, a lot of times as a pitcher you have this thing in your mind that you're better from the windup or you're not as good from the stretch. And I had that in Double-A ball, and I was having a lot of trouble first pitch, first batters, and I was walking guys into a pinch, and my pitching coach asked me, why don't I just pitch from the stretch? I'm doing much better from the stretch. And he proved to me by using a radar gun that I could throw exactly the same from the windup, from the stretch, and also he got me to that balance point. And I threw 88 miles an hour from all 3 points. So it was in my mind, it convinced me that I didn't need all that movement. I didn't need all those things going on to get myself in trouble at times by going from the windup.
Darvish is out with Tommy John surgery, but he's one of the elite pitchers in the major leagues. He pitches exclusively out of the stretch.
Well, and again, it's just simplicity. Sometimes that rules. As a pitcher, you have to make some adjustments, and unfortunately, I was given that advice early in my career in the minor leagues.
But Monty, to be the all-time Royal save leader and Hall of Famer, and your velocity was 88, tells me you had impeccable command location and a nasty slider.
Variety was my forte, Rex.
By the way, have we ever figured out how HUD did against you? Have we covered that yet?
He raked me.
He did?
Yeah, I think so.
That is not the truth.
I believe there's only been maybe one at bat. I think we looked before. Punched me out, walked me off Soldier Boy style back to the dugout. 1-2, 1-2.
Did he curtsy at you? That was here in this ballpark.
That's true. Ventura's looking for that pitch right here.
A few pitches ago, we showed you his quick move to first base. He also varies his time to the plate with the runner on. Mike Trout at first with a leadoff walk. He's still standing there. Do you know, in over 208 major league innings, runners have only attempted a stolen base twice against Ventura. That's how well he manages the running game.
That's a huge asset for a pitcher to be able to control it that way.
Trout will be running now with a full count and 2 out. That is 7 strikeouts for Yordano Ventura in 4 innings.
Three.
Fifth inning, Royals lead 4-1. All 4 runs coming in the second inning. Craft and Draft featuring Boulevard is the new place to be at Kauffman Stadium. Now open on the loge level, this unique space offers fans an open-air, climate-controlled destination with over 75 beer varieties, gastro pub fare, and a custom pizza bar. The venue is open to any ticket holder, and select season, single, and group tickets are available. So check out a baseball environment second to none at the new Craft and Draft. Moustakas, Kane, and Hosmer in the fifth inning against C.J. Wilson. Moustakas is 0 for 2. Royals got all 4 runs in the second inning. One of the runs was unearned because of an error by Freese at third. 2 balls and no strikes.
Yep, they're coming in trying to break Moose's bat, trying to knock it out of his hands. They're worried and concerned that if they leave something out over the plate, he could go deep to any field here today.
And now we see only a very slight defensive shift on Moustakas.
Give him the green light here.
And he was hit by that pitch.
Another hit batter?
Well, if you go by the reaction of Jim Wolf put his hands in the air, which would signal dead ball. So now they've been hit 10 times, our Toyota League leaders. And what is that, 3 for Moustakas?
Well, that'll tell you how the league has him scouted. They're trying to jam him. They're trying to stay in on him. They feel like there was some success there. And as I mentioned earlier in the first 2 games against the White Sox, that's something that Moose is going to have to adjust to. Spitting on those pitches, let them go, take one for the team.
It's actually the 4th time that Moustakas has been hit.
And then get on base and rip another bag off. He stole one his first yesterday. Never thought I'd be talking like that about Moose.
How about Salvi with the bag?
That's right.
Now Kane hits it hard to right field. Caught by Cowgill. 1 down.
First baseman, number 35, Eric Hosmer.
Wilson has struck out 4 today. He's gotten Hosmer twice, swinging in the first inning and swinging in the second. Hosmer made contact and fouls it away, 0-1. Matt Joyce in left field. 2 down in the 5th inning. Royals 4-run rally in the 2nd inning. Started with a Kendrys Morales single. Yellowwood is bringing the lumber. 4 runs, 5 hits in that 2nd inning.
Great to see that production to the bottom half of the lineup, scoring all 4 of those runs in the bottom half. So it's getting production from the newcomers too, especially Morales coming back to California here with a nice game, nice series.
Wilson better make sure he keeps that pitch just where that last one was, away, and keep it out of the middle. Morales knows how the ball carries through. Now look at Morales standing there. He's not out of the box. He's got 1 foot in and he's standing there so relaxed, so comfortable. I call that he looks hitterish. He looks like he's going to do some damage, Monty.
Confident guy.
With Rios next.
Believe me, Wilson is doing exactly like I thought he would. He's being careful here. You don't want no part of him. Again, another hitter for the green light if he gives you the one you like.
Pitch down, and now 3-2, and Moustakas will be running on the next pitch.
Guys, I was saying the other day, thinking about Morales and his similarities to Chili Davis. 2 guys, switch hitters, got some pop, really professional hitters. They don't give away at bats.
I'm going to tell Dog you said that. That's a nice compliment, man. He'll like that, Monty. We'll see Oakland next homestand.
Only he's with Boston now. But you are right. We will see Oakland next homestand. Another base hit for Morales. He is 2 out of 3.
You mean Chili is not the hitting coach in Oakland no more?
That's exactly what I mean.
Thank you. Look at that. Out over the plate. Guided it right in that hole. When you're hot, you're hot.
And now Rios, he singled and scored in the second inning. He's 1 for 2 and has excellent numbers in his career against C.J. Wilson.
Oh.
And that's hit hard into left field and down to the top of the wall, and it stays in. Here's Morales around third. Alex Rios, for the second straight game, drives in 2 with a base hit. The Royals lead 6-1. And the Royals got a huge break that ball stayed in the park.
That's when I went, oh, because it looked like it went into the stands. It looked like it hit a fan and bounced back out, because I was bummed, because usually that second runner will score, but it stayed in somehow. Nice swing. Figure they'll be getting some action up in their bullpen. That ball's a couple inches in on the inside part of the plate. Rios was ready for it. Plates 2 more Royals.
Strike to Salvador Perez. He has driven in a run, 1 for 2. Rios had probably the biggest hit in that big 4th inning for the Royals yesterday. A 5-run 4th inning. Mike Moustakas hit the solo home run. But then with 2 outs, Rios had the 2-run single, making it a 3-run inning and setting up the Salvador Perez 2-run home run. Coming up in right field is Calgill to make the play. Royals continue to pile up the runs and pile up the 2-out runs. 2 more in this inning. They have scored 20 runs this year with 2 outs. Six-1 Royals in Anaheim to the bottom of the 5th, and now Farmland shows us what's cooking at the K. The Royals are home on Friday with a 3-game series with the A's. Billy Butler's return to Kauffman Stadium, and then a 3-game series after that against the Minnesota Twins, and the Royals will head to Minnesota after today's game.
And no Chili Davis.
No Chili Davis.
Looking at the box score yesterday and looking up Billy Butler's numbers, he's off to a good start with the Oakland A's, hitting almost 400 when I saw him.
But you can tell Chili Davis what Monty said in the middle of June.
Thank you.
Oh, and 2 on C.J. Cron. Ventura struck him out in the second inning. Giordano has 7 strikeouts against 7 different Angels. Shallow center. Kane is there for a rolling catch.
Nothing falls.
I didn't think he had a chance to get to that ball.
Every single day we see this as I look around and see jaws drop around the broadcast area. Looking at these other broadcasters, they're going, wow, really? Well, fortunately, if you're a Royals pitcher, you love Lorenzo Cain.
Now Chris Iannetta with 1 out. The Angels only have 1 hit. That was Pujols' homer back in the first inning. Lorenzo's made some of the biggest defensive plays of his career in Anaheim. On Iannetta. He struck out looking at a fastball in the second inning. Iannetta is granted timeout.
Iannetta's had a pretty tough series, huh, Ryan? He's punched out 5 times. Let the runners move over, the ball getting under him. Struggling.
He was good against the Royals last year. I remember him, big home run in one game.
Right field line, and Rios into foul ground. 2 down.
Okay, the sun does not affect the outfielders on a low line drive, obviously. First step is important, picking the ball up. You got to see it first. Hard charging in, head first dive, athletic roll. Beautifully done.
Such a pick-me-up for a pitcher, too. First batter of the inning, you got Cron. The guy's looking for his first hit of the season still, and you make a good pitch. He throws his bat out, and it looks like it's going to land out in shallow center field. And Lorenzo closes on that. Just a very nice pick-me-up for Giordano Ventura.
Cowgill struck out looking at a curve in the third inning. Two and two. Ventura has walked 1. That was Trout last inning, leading off the 4th, and Trout never got to second base. And now Cowgill is on. Question for those of you watching today: who are the 4 players who best represent the history of the Royals? And who are the 4 greatest living Major League Baseball players? Go to MLB.com/franchise4 to cast your ballots. Winners will be revealed during the All-Star Game July 14th on Fox. Fouled away by Taylor Featherston, making his big league debut. He grounded out to short in the third inning. Ventura still working hard on the runners with a 5-run lead. And we're now up to 209 career innings for Yordano Ventura, and only 2 attempted stolen bases against him, 1 successful. Part of that is him, and part of that is the guy who catches the Ventura pitches, Salvador Perez. Cut off nicely by Escobar. The force is on Cowgill to end the inning. 5 innings for Ventura, and with great defense, he's only allowed 1 hit. Friday night, this home run made Abby Corson of Kearney, Missouri, a winner in our Sonic Slam inning.
And it made Jason Vargas very happy.
And our Sonic Slam inning contestant today is Ann DeWitt from KCA. If the Royals hit a home run in this inning, Ann wins $200. If the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Ann wins $25,000 from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals. And there's a shot into deep center field, and Trout will not make the play. And Paulo Orlando, his first 2 major league hits are triples. And we got to go to the record books on that one.
Second baseman, number 14, Omar Infante.
Another track meet. Ball was the line. If the best center fielder in baseball, or the second best behind Kane, can't catch that, no one is. Maybe Locane could, but look, he stays in the yard. If it bounces over, it's a double. Look at this young man. Get a clock on him.
That is deceptive speed. He's faster than he looks.
Yeah, he is.
Infante twice is grounded to third. He reached on an error by Freese at third in the second inning. And then Freese made a nice play on a tricky hop hit by Infante in the 4th.
Okay, I'm getting word from our fabulous men behind the scenes in the truck. They said it was another 11-second jaunt from home to third. And I'm saying he can do a better time than that. Because if we watch this again, he kind of drifted out of the box, and then he put the afterburners on. Nice to have different gears, Monty. Look at him. Hey, watch this. There's another gear.
Reminds me a little bit of a guy that you and I both played with. Played a little football in his day, too.
Willie Wilson.
And Bo Jackson.
Oh, well, we'll take either one of them.
When did Willie play football?
It's college. Just ask him. He was a great football player, Willie Wilson was. So I got confused there.
Willie played college football?
He was going to sign.
Maryland.
He was signed to play with Maryland. That's right.
That's all right. We got most of the facts correct.
Well, who's faster between those three then? Paulo Orlando, Bo Jackson, or Willie Wilson? Or Jerron Dyson. We didn't even put Dyson in the picture.
And you know what? Did he play college football too?
No.
How about that hitting coach with the A's? I mean Red Sox. Do we want to throw him into that?
No, Chili was not a track star or a football player.
Proving once again, you can't beat fun at the old ballpark.
Especially when the running Royals are raking too.
Don't forget to vote for the Royals Player of the Month at rallyhouse.com/Royals. You'll be entered to win a majestic prize pack from Rally House. Infield in for the Angels. Runner at third. 1 out. The game could very well be over with Ventura pitching the way he is. But if it is not, the Angels realize that they have to do whatever they can to keep this a 5-run game, hoping for a ground ball and a play at the plate with Escobar at the plate. Escobar's already driven in 2 today with a double. You got to pitch up. Trout fighting the sun. The best he can do is make the catch. 7-1 KC. Escobar has driven in 3 today. And Orlando's leadoff triple turns into a run.
They just keep on pressuring the opposition. Socia finally getting somebody up in the bullpen, hoping that Wilson could at least get to his pitch count number, which is around 100.
And Mike Moustakas, who has already been hit 4 times, takes one under the chin.
Not much doubt about the game plan is against Moustakas.
So you doink him.
Center fielder, number 6.
9 hits for the Royals in 5 2/3 innings against Wilson.
Yep. Byproduct of an inside-out swing. Strong enough to drop it in over the shortstop's head because he wasn't trying to pull it.
C.J. Wilson on Tuesday went 8 innings. 8 innings scoreless. Today, 7 runs in 5 2/3. Fernando Salas is the Angels' Chevy call to the bullpen. Back to game 3 of the division series. C.J. Wilson has had a bad time against the Royals, giving up 10 runs in 6 1/3 innings. Fernando Salas comes on with Moustakas at first, 2 down. Royals scored 4 in the second, 2 in the 5th, and 1 in this 6th inning. Fouled away by Kane. Lorenzo singled in the first inning and was intentionally walked in the second. His only out was a line out to right, and he's made the defensive play of the game, taking a hit away from C.J. Cron in the bottom of the 5th. 0-2.
Some nice swings there on Salas. Salas going to go 88 to 93 with his fastballs, slider and changeup. Coming in on the Royals bus to the ballpark today, this morning, the Royals were very confident and assured themselves that they were going to take care of business and then head on to the next destination. But they had today's focus. Look at that beautiful touch.
Tough play, no play.
Good spot. Got him out front on a breaking ball. Found the hole. Infield knock. But they were confident. You could just tell. A team that's clicking on all cylinders believes they're going to win every day.
That's one thing I hope we don't get tired of talking about this year is the fact these guys really play for each other. They like being around each other. It's a close-knit team, and it hasn't changed since the beginning, but now they understand how to win for each other.
There's no doubt about it. And that's part of putting a team together. Dayton Moore, he's a big character guy. He wants to get guys in here that are going to fit the mold. And you know what? Ask Rios, ask Morales, and they'll tell you, boy, these guys, there's energy in here, there's fun, there's laughter, but there's a nice confidence about these guys. Not cocky, but confident. And they're still young.
One and two on Hosmer. Royals started the game with 5 hitters who had hit safely in each of the first 5 games. 4 of those have extended their hitting streaks, and now Hosmer trying to join Escobar, Kane, Morales, and Perez. And they're a tough team to strike out. There are some today who believe that the strikeout is no big deal. It's just another out, and if you have power, you should continue to swing for a home run even with 2 strikes. You don't want to shorten up your swing and go for a single. That's not the Royals' philosophy, and they've gotten a lot of hits early in the season just by putting bat on ball with 2 strikes. Sometimes you got to take a swing like that just to foul the ball away.
I think Mike Moustakas is a great example of it, what he's done early this season. He's really almost opened up another part of his game by going the other way. He's got a lot of hits the other way, and just a guy that has the ability to hit the ball at the ballpark, but now add on to that average, get those 2 out base hits the other way, and score some additional runs.
Lorenzo Kane, he was off balance and he just kind of put the ball in play.
Still 1 and 2.
Haas was trying to take a row of seats out in right field in the bleachers with that swing. He was looking to turn and burn. foul off the tough borderline pitches with a little bit of a feel-me swing, and then wait for the cookie and turn on it.
Two and two. And again, just barely making contact with Moustakas at second, Kane at first.
Putting together quality at-bats, competing in your at-bat, battling, just like Hosmer's doing. We're up by 6 runs. Hosmer's up there fighting for his life, it seems like. That's what you love to see.
So it'll be at least a 10-pitch at-bat.
You were talking about this being a young team, and it's amazing to have so many younger players really just tapping into their prime and their great years ahead of them. So they got a lot of guys that will be playing together for a while.
Salas wins the 10-pitch at-bat. The Royals tack on another run. The rally in this inning started with Paulo Orlando's second hit, both triples. Six-run lead, and he's only allowed 1 hit. If you take a look at our sprint cuts of the game.
Right, a big key for Yordano Ventura today is having more than 1 pitch going. And as a pitcher, you hope to have a couple of pitches working. You don't always have it, but today he's got the really good fastball. He's locating very nicely, and he's got the good breaking ball going too, putting a lot of hitters away, fooling a lot of hitters with that off-speed pitch.
He makes that, Ryan, he makes that look so easy. But I can tell you what the Angels hitters are saying going back to that dugout. They are shaking their heads saying, filthy, nasty. And believe me, that does nothing for the confidence of the other hitters who are hearing that.
Well, we'll see if the Angels, I'm sure they are trying to make adjustments on Ventura. We'll see if they're able to as they're beginning their 3rd time through the order. Ibar, Trout, and Pujols. And Fonte out from second base. And Ibar is 0 for 3. MLB.TV Premium is the #1 live streaming sports service. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live or on demand in HD. With highlights, live look-ins, and pitch tracking every night on every device. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. The Angels have really only had 2 base runners. As Pujols homers, that's not really a base runner. And then Ventura has the 2 walks. It goes down as a base runner when you give up a home run, but Ventura didn't have to deal with anybody on base. He has walked Trout in the 4th inning and Cowgill in the 5th. Angels just haven't been able to get anything going against Ventura. That's the first hit other than the home run. And Trout is on with 1 out. The Angels down by 6.
If you're trying to get anything down, that's right in his wheelhouse there. I'm glad it wasn't directed back at Ventura, but he's a great low ball hitter.
That's tough as a pitcher, too, when you know the guy's a good low ball hitter and you're a good low ball pitcher. It's hard to really kind of get out of your game, but sometimes you just have to make that adjustment. We saw him kind of come up and in on Trout, but then he went right back to that down part of the strike zone.
The pitch came in at 98 and it left Trout's bat at 104. Outside to Albert Pujols. One and one on Pujols. He homered in the 1st inning. He had been tied for 18th on the all-time home run list with Ted Williams, Willie McCovey, and Frank Thomas. And with that home run, he is now all by himself 18th all-time with 522.
Pretty good company.
Over 2,500 hits and over 1,600 RBIs. Miguel Cabrera had a couple of home runs today for the Tigers. Well, this will be the 1st inning that the Angels have more than 1 runner. Trout is going to be waved home. A heads-up play by third base coach Gary DiSarcina, seeing the bobble by Kane, and now we've got trouble at home plate. Ventura and Mike Trout.
Hey, look at that. You know what? If I'm a starting pitcher and I got a guy that just scored on me, looking at me, jawing at me, that close to me, I might get a little bit disturbed. So, what are you going to do? that? Now look.
I don't blame him.
Trout better be careful. Guy that throws 100 miles an hour, you better be careful what you say to him because you will see him again.
Yeah, it appears as though Trout was the one who kind of instigated that mess.
Yeah, that's what it looks like from there. And I don't know if something had happened prior to this inning.
I think this is a lot of frustration built up by the Angels. Because the Royals have done nothing but whip these guys since last October to put them out with their tail between their legs, send them home, and now they're getting ready to sweep them again here. I think they're frustrated, no question. Still a ways to go in this one before that is over, but Ventura didn't do anything wrong. He's backing up home.
Now Giordano has to do the best that he can to just let that go.
Yeah, really hard to dial that adrenaline back after something like that happens. They did wake up the crowd here.
Now Pujols takes off for third base.
Boy, that's great.
And he is out.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Unbelievable.
Wow. What do you think of your team? What, are you kidding me? How many runs are they down? Wow.
And as Monty said, anytime one man gets challenged by another man, there's going to be an adrenaline rush, and then you factor in that you're playing a major league game in front of a big crowd, and Giordano was having a little difficulty dialing it down with the first three pitches, and then the Angels give him a gift.
Right, it's
really
really
second out.
It's difficult as a pitcher too because you have that downtime. You have 4 or 5 minutes in between the last pitch you throw and the next pitch you throw, plus the adrenaline. Really tough to get back on track. Nice to see him throw that strike and maybe get back in his count.
Thank you for helping Giordano. Uh-oh, better get there.
He never left the mound, and he is bent over at first base. It'll be a base hit for Matt Joyce. It was not because he forgot to cover first base. He took a few steps down the side of the mound and stopped.
You'll see Giordano with that finish. We know he has that high kick up. It looked like he may have done something to his right leg.
Well, I hope we get the same report on Ventura as we did after on Monday when we hear from Ned Yost. Chevy called to the bullpen is Jason Frazier. after something grabbed his right leg after a ground ball to the right side.
Yeah, there was no doubt after he delivered that pitch, and you saw him go to that right leg, and he almost made that sign like I'm done. So hopefully it's nothing serious, but he could tell something was not right immediately after he delivered that pitch.
Now Jason Frazier with Greg Holland not available in the game on Friday night. It was Frazier who pitched the 7th inning and did so scoreless with a couple of strikeouts. Two games, 2 innings, 4 strikeouts for Jason Frazier, and he's about to pitch to David Freese with a runner at first, 2 down.
Boy, how nice was that easy gimme out that Albert Pujols ran into. That's a big thing to help out Yordano Ventura. I just don't understand the veterans' thinking on that. I don't understand why he would attempt to steal a base when he's not a base stealer. He didn't get a particularly great jump. And Salvi's got a cannon and a left-handed hitter. There's nobody in Salvi's throwing lane.
The only thing I could come up with is maybe the Angels felt like they were getting under Ventura's skin, and that would have been, to disrupt him even more. But yeah, that is not the time or the place. Now you're getting into the back end of the Royals bullpen. Freese grounded out, struck out against Ventura. Matt Joyce reached on a routine ground ball when Ventura was leaving the mound. That's when he stopped. Routine ground ball to the right side. Ventura should have been covering, but something happened to his leg and he comes out of the game. Good slider for a strike to Freese.
He's got a good one, Monty. Every time I see Frazier, I think of you, and I go, you know what? These guys are similar, physique, pitches, except he's got a nice little split finger that he'll use occasionally against a left-handed batter, but you gotta love his poise as a veteran. Coming in, you can trust him. He's going to hit his corners, and he's got that really good slider.
Yeah, he's not afraid out there. He comes right at the hitter.
You would think the advantage here would be for Frazier, as Freese has mostly been a National League player. Frazier's been an American League player, and it's the first time that Freese has seen Jason Frazier. Just missed, 2-1.
For one reason Frazier's been able to stay around so long is just that variety of pitches that he has the ability to throw really any count, any situation. Throw the fastball, he can throw the slider, he can throw the splitter, particularly lefties, and he's a professional guy.
Three and one.
Want to get right after Freese here. Throw him something down and away that it's a strike and let him hit it out into Escobar. A little ground ball here. Don't want to start putting guys on and get some power coming up. Cron.
Full count. Jim Wolf pulls Freese back into the batter's box.
Great spot. Do it again right here. Same pitch coming.
Yeah, he's a master of that down and away on that fastball. Locates it so well against right-handed batters.
Matt Joyce runs. Freese strikes out. So out of all that, the Angels get 1 run to make it a 5-run game.
Nice slider.
Royals baseball is brought to you by Steel Outdoor Power Equipment. Quality, reliability, and value. Search STIHL. By Dodge, Born Dodge. And by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day. (7-2) Royals to the top of the 7th inning. Morales, Rios, and Perez. Morales has 2 hits and 2 runs scored. The Royals have 10 hits in 6 innings. Morales led off back in the 2nd inning and reached, and that was the beginning of the Royals' biggest inning, a 4-run second. That was against C.J. Wilson. The Royals scored all 7 of their runs against Wilson. And now facing Fernando Salas, who came on to get the last out of the 6th. Second strikeout for Salas. All right, well, we think we may have seen what at least led up to Mike Trout and Yordano Ventura jawing at home plate. This was Trout's base hit prior to scoring. As he hit it over Ventura's head, Ventura stared at him all the way to first base.
Wow. Okay.
So
that
then,
explains it.
Then Trout comes around to score and gets back in Ventura's face.
There you go. I mean, now I'm okay with what Trout did then. Because Ventura, he's got to know that he's going to get hit up here. This is the big leagues. They're going to hit some balls. So, look, he stared him down. And Trout looked at the pitcher and went, what are you looking at me for? I'm just doing my job.
Now Trout fighting the sun, 2 down. And I mean, Trout is good, right? He's great, but he doesn't have the ability to, at will, hit a line drive over the pitcher's head.
No.
I mean, he's not that good. But
No.
So you wonder if there was something even before that.
Well, I know that there's frustration, but still, you have pride as an individual player. And when another opponent looks at you and stares you down, sometimes you're like, well, get back up on that launching pad. You ain't that good. That's that competitive side in you. That's it, So then they happen to cross paths, and Trout probably said something like that to him.
Salvador has hit in 6 straight. He drove in a run back in the 2nd inning.
But I'm going to be real careful talking to a guy that throws 100 and you're going to face him the rest of your career. These are 2 of the youngest players in baseball, 2 superstars. Trout, already an established superstar.
Both 23 years old.
Ventura coming. Keep an eye on that one for the rest of the next 10 years.
Salvador Perez with another home run. He leads the Royals with 3 home runs. That is his 2nd RBI today. And the Royals, as they have done so often early this year, they get the run right back. It is 8-2.
Hitters say he dropped the head of that bat on that one. He just went up there and said, 3-1 count. I'm looking for a heater.
Home run number 1 Salvador Perez, our T-Mobile game changer. That was Thursday against Chicago. Last night in a 5-run inning. And just moments ago.
That's just perfect swing. On a day game like that, that's what you're looking for. A cookie. Short, compact stroke, gets the back underside, and you got you a dinger.
Paulo Orlando in his second big league game has scored twice.
And for Salas, he was on the verge of getting the Royals 1-2-3 and keeping the momentum in the Angel dugout after scoring a run anyway.
Well, I wondered about this. And Paulo Orlando is the first major league player with 2 triples for his first 2 base hits since 1998, when Mark Johnson, a catcher with the White Sox, did the same thing.
How about make it a third?
And now Paulo Orlando into the left field corner.
He got a chance.
Go! Paulo Orlando has 3 major league hits, all triples.
Sweet on contact. I knew he didn't have enough to get it out of the park at 347 down the line. Having played here 3 years, I know that if it bounces off the wall, you got a chance for a triple if you got any kind of speed, and there it was. Down and in, didn't quite barrel it, but watch it. It stays in the yard, kicks over the head, and that was all she wrote. 3 for 3 in his major league career with 3 triples. Unbelievable.
I think we're going to go a little farther back than 1998 for the next note.
He's not 3 for 3, but his 3 hits are triples.
Yeah.
You know what I meant.
We knew what you meant. And that's a fair ball. Omar Infante will drive in Orlando for a second time today. That is his second RBI. And right after the Angels tried to stir things up in the bottom of the 6th inning, the Royals come back and have their biggest lead of the day.
Can you believe it? You see things in baseball every single day that you've never seen before. But for Paulo Orlando to be able to run the bases, your 3 hits, a triple, and I wonder if we got a clock on that one. The 2 previous triples, from home to third, we clocked him in 11 seconds. Let's see if our fellas in the truck can get a clock on the other one.
Alcides Escobar has driven in 3 today.
And the Angel crowd here, over 37,000, are quiet. You can hear a pin drop. They're like, really? The Royals are doing it again to us? Thanks for coming.
Quite a bit of blue mixed in with the red, and that'll show up the longer this game goes, as the folks in the red are going to be leaving. As Escobar hits it off the end of the bat, Pujols makes the play, and that ends the inning. Perez homers. Orlando triples again. Infante doubles in a run, and the Royals lead by 7.
The Royals are getting hotter, and Paulo's getting faster. Run, Paulo! Skills.
score as Panera takes us around the league, and we'll look at some of that action, and told you a little bit about some of it before. But here you go, Detroit, they continue to roll. They are undefeated. White Sox all over Minnesota, Toronto in a slugfest with Baltimore. And we show you Atlanta because they were the only other undefeated team. But they lost today. It's down to the Royals and the Tigers. Our Mazda game break takes us to Chicago. And Gordon Beckham, a former Angel, and of course started his career with the White Sox. He goes deep for the Southsiders. Chris Sale pitched in that one, making his season debut fresh off the DL. 6 innings, 1 run, and 8 strikeouts. Guys, that's a look at crew chief Bill Miller. Had a chance to talk to him before the game. He was the home plate umpire in the wild card game last year. He said, I've done World Series games before, but I have never heard a louder stadium than Kauffman Stadium in that wild card game against Oakland last fall.
I would agree with that. A more frenzied stadium than Kauffman Stadium. Frazier got the final out of the 6th. He'll stay on for the 7th, with the Royals leading by 7. C.J. Cron is hitless for the season. He is 0 for 12. I'm sure he thought he had his first hit back in the 5th inning, and then Lorenzo Cain racing in from center field, making the defensive play of the game and taking a hit away from Cron. And Lorenzo going over the defensive alignment with Orlando in left and Rios in right.
Well, it's not easy when you get off to a slow start like Cron is. Look at that guy there, Moose. He can tell Cron what that's about. Last season, he struggled early. Get that, couldn't buy a hit. And that'll weigh on a hitter's mind. Still looking for a batting average. 6 games in, 7 games in. Always good offensively as a player to get off to a good start. Even though they'll tell you it ain't how you start, it's how you finish. But still, rather start hot than cold.
And what Frazier wanted to do, a leadoff walk. Just the 9th walk all year given up by the Royals pitching staff. They have been a strike machine. And only 1 walk has turned into a run. Chris Iannetta, the Angel catcher. He is struck out and fouled out to right. I had a chance to visit with him before the game today, and the reason was with that Yankee Red Sox game, remember 19 innings a couple of nights ago? Neither one of those catchers stayed in the whole game. They came close. 2 seasons ago, Chris Iannetta caught a 19-inning game against the Oakland A's. All 19 innings.
Whew. How do you say he felt after that one?
Oh, that was the obvious follow-up question. He said he felt fine during the game. He thought he got 2 days off afterward. He said his legs felt all right. It was just his arm. He said, you know, I think I threw the ball back to the pitcher. He said, I think it was 294 times.
Incredible. Hey, you don't think about that, do you? You know, you got to throw that
Sal
ball
right there. Just a nice, firm throw back to the pitcher.
Man, it makes you wonder why they even warm up before the game. Maybe save your bullets.
Rios has a play in right field. 1 down in the 7th inning.
Right fielder, number 7, Colin Cowgill.
The Royals hang on to this big lead. Ned Yost might have the opportunity to get some relievers into the game who haven't had a chance to appear. Ryan Madsen has pitched in a game. But it's just one game. We still have not seen Chris Young or Franklin Morales. Good pitch at the knees to Cowgill. It's a good problem to have when you're 5-6 games into the season and you still have 2 relievers who haven't appeared, and it's a luxury of sorts for Ned Yost that the guys who haven't been in yet are veterans. They know how to keep themselves ready to come into a game without actual game action.
That's right. Okay, there's nobody out there complaining about anything. This Royals baseball team is clicking on all cylinders, and I got to tell you that the Detroit Tigers, with the Royals being on the West Coast, they're watching going, wow.
One hop to Moustakas. Out at second. Double play. Leadoff walk. And the Angels bat only 3 against Frazier in the bottom of the 7th inning. Of the game.
Why not? We got an early bus driver as far as the home run categories go, and it looks like it's Salvador Perez to take the wheel. Finding some pitches that are right over the zone. He knows his power zone, and that is left field for sure, but he's more selective, he's more patient, and he's more dangerous at the plate because of the experience he's been gaining.
Benny Pistano comes on for the 8th inning, and the Angels making spring training-like changes. And Socha down by 7 going into the 8th inning. He's going to get some of his regulars off their feet and off the field. Royals will have Mike Moustakas, Lorenzo Cain, and Eric Hosmer.
Angels head out on the road to Texas for 3 and Houston for 3.
Moustakas was hit by another pitch in the 5th inning. It just barely nicked his jersey, but he's been hit 4 times this year, and he's also singled. Very high to right. One down. That is Navarro now in right field.
So Calgill goes from right field to center. Pistano in with a strike to Lorenzo Cain, who has 2 hits and a walk. Johnny Giavotella is taken over at second base. Taylor Featherston, who was at second, moves to short. So Eric Ibar is out. So there's Featherston going from second base to short, and Drew Butera, who is the Angels' backup catcher, he is at first base in place of Albert Pujols. Calgill looking up into the sun and takes care of Lorenzo Cain. 2 down. Wednesday, it's an epic international showdown where the United States men's national team takes on Mexico as the Americans look to extend a 4-year unbeaten streak against their historic rivals at the sold-out Alamo Dome in San Antonio. Coverage begins at 7:30, only on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Eric Hosmer with perhaps his last chance to extend his hitting streak to all 6 games this year. Didn't mean to do it, and it's 0-2. Every other Royal in the lineup has at least 1 hit. And Escobar, Cain, Morales, and Perez have all hit safely in the first 6 games. Giavotella with Featherston. Featherston will take charge and make the play. Just the second time all day the Royals have gone down 1-2-3. Our Honda most trusted player is our most trusted players. Brought to you by the most trusted brand, Honda. The Royals bullpen, already the best in the major leagues before the season began. 13 innings pitched without allowing a run. That was coming into today, and now Jason Frazier has turned in an inning and a third. And Chris Young will make his Royals debut. This will be just the second relief appearance of his career.
Pretty simple formula in this game. If you can just figure out how to be consistent in the three areas: scoring runs, starting pitching, and defense. And if you have a bullpen like the Royals, you win. That's what separates the two undefeated teams in the American League Central. Tigers, Royals, the back end of the pen, the Royals way more dominant than the Tigers. And the Tigers know it.
Two balls, two strikes. That pitch right there, Royals hitters referred to as an invisible. 87 miles an hour. It appears to be right down the middle of the plate. Taylor Featherston swung right through it. You say, well, he's just a rookie, but Major League veterans have had trouble picking up the ball out of his hand. And it comes in out of the clouds with Chris Young coming over the top, and he's already 6'10".
And he has a short arm stroke when he throws it with his arm. And it's very deceptive. Look at that.
87.
Yeah.
It looked like 97, doesn't it?
And it's a beautiful thing. Deception. If you're a pitcher, it's not if you're a hitter. Because he sends guys back to the dugout throwing fits, as he did the Royals last year when he was a member of Seattle, where he won 12 games. The Royals guys were just tearing up everything. They were so frustrated. But very effective long man. He will be this year. If there's need for one, I'm sure there will. It's a long season. There's going to be a Royal starter or two that's going to have trouble early in the game, and they'll need this kid or this young man. He's not a kid, to come in and help him out.
Efren Navarro, who came on defensively last half inning, hits for the first time.
And if there is an injury to one of the Royal starters, he could be used as well.
By the way, we just heard that, and again, it's good news for the Royals and Yordano Ventura. Lorenzo Cain runs into his own triangle to make the play on Efren Navarro. Says only I get hits in this part of the ballpark. Yordano Ventura had to leave the game in the sixth inning because of a cramp to his right calf. And if it's anything like that Charlie horse you can get in the middle of the night, you can understand why he didn't run any farther than he did.
Now, I talked about that last week, but I thought only old men like me got those. Apparently not. However, the training staff will have to find that hydration solution to take care of him, to make sure he's hydrated so he can go 7 innings in a game or 8 innings. Because had in both starts cramps not affected him, he would have went deep in both them games.
Johnny Giovatella's first at bat of the game. Johnny started at second base the first 2 games of the series and was 0 for 6 with a run scored.
You see Gio talking to himself after swinging at that? He had a long chat. Must be talking to Salvi. That's a knock.
Moustakas bare hands and out at first base on a close play. We'll wait for a moment. Alfredo Griffin, the Angels' longtime first base coach, started wagging his right finger to the Angels dugout. And Mike Scioscia is going to back into the dugout.
I didn't think Moose had a chance. Great play, barehander. Gio, you got to go.
gets on, that man right there, Paulo Orlando, who has the Jeep, or rather the Chrysler drives of the game. Here are his only 3 major league hits. The triple on Thursday against the White Sox and 2 triples today. His first in the 6th inning, his second in the 7th. And we've done some exhaustive research going back to 1914, and that's when statistics were officially recorded that would include triples. Nobody in Major League history has had a triple for their first 3 Major League hits. Now, if somebody did it prior to 1914, we're not aware of it. That was a stat that started in 1914 being recorded. So Paulo Orlando, after 29 years and 10 of those in the minor leagues, becomes the first player in Major League history to accomplish that.
Shock the house. And also, after his first 2 triples that were timed at 11 seconds, he got faster. That third one, 10 seconds. I knew he had it in him to cut that time down.
Royals have 13 hits today, and Kendrys Morales has 2. Both times he came around to score. He is facing Joe Smith, who is the Angels' 4th pitcher today. And Morales will strike out. 9 strikeouts for Royals hitters today. That's a huge number, considering how well they've been putting the ball in play.
So if you stretched the bases and made them in one straight line, it would be 290 feet. Football field's 300. 10 seconds with the lean to the left. That's pretty good.
270 feet. 290 would be to third base, and then 20 more feet.
270, my bad.
Yep.
Regardless, I can't let accuracy get in the way of what I'm trying to say. That's a long run.
I still get your point.
Thank you.
I think. Just over Featherston, and it's a 3-hit game for Alex Rios. 3 hits, 2 RBIs today.
Catcher, number 13, Salvador Perez.
Now Salvador Perez will try and match Rios with a 3-hit game. He has homered again, leading the Royals with 3 home runs and 8 RBIs. That's the Royals' number 7 hitter. And if Alex Gordon was in there today, he would be the Royals' number 8 hitter. Okay, Hud, can I borrow your telestrator?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, Hud, right there. That's 290 feet.
A little bit more.
Oh, I got to clear this now. See, you can't let me play with this.
No, it's not easy.
There you go. There you go. Right?
Okay.
That's about 290 feet right there.
Okay, well, I was off about 10 feet.
No,
Or
you're
20.
off 20 feet.
20. I mean, I'm not really good with numbers. I think you can do that. Look, anyway, that's a long way to go. You got to lean left. It's not a straightaway run. Got to make that left-hand turn. But his long strides, we're talking about the gentleman on deck there, wearing number 16 this year for the Royals, Paulo Orlando. There's Salvi. He's up. Long strides.
Two and two on Salvi.
Sinker sliders. Salvi will be looking for something out over the plate like he did his last time up.
Another called third strike. Well, why not add to your record and be the first guy with 4 triples for your first 4 major league hits? Why not?
I'll eat your scorecard if he hits a triple. That's unbelievable. It's so hard to hit a triple. It was last year you were making fun of me because Steve Alboni had more triples than I did. It's not easy. But your first 3 hits in the majors, that's hard to do.
Orlando strikes out. For the record, Paulo Orlando has 1/3 of Rex Hudler's career total for triples in just 2 major league games.
Oh.
Cast is presented by authority of the Kansas City Royals. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation.
Hey, you see that halo right there, that big A they got out there on the 57 freeway? They light that thing up after a win, and it's so nice to have been able to drive by that at night the last couple of days and see it not lit. It's going to stay that way for another whole other week while they go on the road. Although, if they went on the road, they turn the halo on.
Drew Butera hits for the first time. He's hitting an Albert Pujols spot. Not out there. Not with the Royals in town. Butera loses a hit at Lorenzo Cain's glove. 1 down.
That's stupid hit. He can't hit it there.
And now Matt Joyce, he is 1 for 3. Ed Yost could have used Franklin Morales with a big lead in the 9th inning to get him in a game. But remember, the Royals want to make sure they keep Chris Young stretched out as possible. He is the Royals' long reliever and most likely their first option if a starting pitcher had to go down. And Morales has been around for a while. We'll find a way to stay game ready. We were talking last inning when Chris Young came on, and he got a strikeout against the first hitter he faced, throwing a couple of fastballs by Taylor Featherston at 87 miles an hour. Matt Joyce into deep right center field, and Lorenzo Cain is there. When the Angels look out into the Royals outfield, all they see is a big glove.
You better believe that. Watch the ground he's covering. Look at how quick he is. Cat-like. Great jump. First step, accurate. Perfect route. A little bit of adjustment there at the last part of it. Gloves it. That's a nice little parting gift Lorenzo can show the Angel fans that are left here.
Base hit left field for David Freese. His first hit of the day. Coming up after the game, it's Boulevard Royals Live. Joel and Monty. What a start to the season for the Royals. Their best start since 2003 when they went 9-0. Highlights of the game, reaction from the clubhouse coming up in just a few moments with Joel and Monty. How hard is Chris Young to hit? Do you know his career opponent's batting average is .226? He has thrown more than 1,000 innings, and Dave Holtzman looked it up. Of all current major leaguers that have thrown 1,000 or more innings, only Clayton Kershaw has a lower opponent's batting average than Chris Young.
Wow.
Kershaw's at 210, by the way. That just shows you how hard it is for hitters to pick the ball up out of his hand at 6'10". He has overcome some pretty serious arm injuries. Out into left field. Paulo Orlando is there, and the Royals sweep the Angels. The American League champion Royals have begun the 2015 season 6-0.
I'd like to say I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm surprised, but I'm not. I got to tell you, this team is unbelievable. They have confidence. They have skills. They've got talented guys. Ventura left again with a cramp, but he did some damage before he left. Defense, flawless. Offense, beast. 14 hits. Another Royals homer. Get on the bus and forget about us. It's time to head to Minneapolis.
And the Royals continue to give the Angels fits here in Anaheim. Here's the Royals' home run today, their 9th of the year, and for Salvador Perez, his 3rd to lead the team. Royals finished with 14 hits.
It's a pretty cool handshake, by the way. Moose and Salvi came up with.
Royals bullpen continues to be flawless. Royals win it today 9-2. Down to the field, here's Joel.
Well, joined by the Gold Glover and also the Royals home run leader right now. Everybody's hitting home runs. Salvador Perez, you swept them back in October. You sweep them again right now. What's going right for you guys?
Hey, you know what? We're coming to play hard, you know. And I see all my team working and training a lot. And you see what happens when we work. So we can roll it. We go to Minnesota now and continue to play hard, and we'll see what happens.
Looks like a lot of focus early on, and everybody just really seems locked in.
Everybody tried to do the best we can do to win, you know, to bring the W for us. you know, and continue to do it. We go see in Minnesota.
Okay, got to ask you about a couple things. First off, the home run. Tell me about that. And it also seems like every time something happens with the other team, you guys respond with the bats.
It's kind of funny, huh? I just try to look at a good pitch and hit the ball hard. He get behind the count 3-0. I take one pitch, and the last pitch he threw me 5 in the middle, and I hit it pretty good.
Okay, what happened with Giordano and Trout? You got in there right away and got Giordano away. Trout looked like he was saying that Giordano was staring at him at first, maybe said something at the plate. What happened?
Seriously, I need to talk to Ventura. We're going to do it right now, but I don't know. As soon as Trout hit it, Ventura get behind the count. He threw 5 in the middle. Trout hit it pretty good. So I don't know if it's Trout or Ventura looking trade. I don't know what happened. But I don't want to, nobody fight. And not in that situation like that. We win the game in the 6th inning. So what I told Ventura is, hey, keep the ball down. I just want to do the win, and we'll see what happens.
So just make sure no fighting, and maybe he learns from it, or maybe he doesn't need to.
No, he maybe learn about that. After that, I talking to him a little bit in the clubhouse. You know, and Ventura is a nice guy. He just like, you know, to pitch hard for us, try to win every time he in the mound, and I think he learned a little bit.
And we're glad to hear he's okay, just cramps again. Salvi, another sweep. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow in Minnesota.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Salvador Perez, the Gold Glove All-Star catcher, and maybe a little bit of insight there, guys, into what was going on with his pitcher, Giordano Ventura, and Mike Trout.
Well, the good news is he's all right, and the even better news is the Royals are 6-0 after a sweep over the Angels. We'll be right back.